Every smile hides a secret. What if I told you that it only takes 2 moments, just 2 tiny cracks in time, to see the real person hiding behind the mask? Not hours of conversation, not years of friendship, not even therapy. Carl Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept yourself completely." And the truth is, most people can't. They don't. They won't. Because what lies beneath the surface isn't always beautiful. It's raw, unfiltered, sometimes dark. That's why they smile so often, why they give you compliments, why they pretend to be okay. Because the shadow within them is terrified of being seen, terrified of being understood, terrified of being rejected. But here's the secret Jung unlocked. The truth leaks out, in micro moments, when the ego is distracted, when the social mask slips. And if you know what to look for, you'll never be fooled by a fake smile again. Let's go deep into the unconscious. Let's break down the 2 powerful psychological signs Carl Jung hinted at, so you can finally decode what people really feel, who they really are, and what they're really hiding behind their words. This isn't manipulation. This is awareness, and it will change how you see everyone. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Watch how they treat the powerless. You want to know someone's true character? Don't watch how they treat the rich. Watch how they treat the forgotten. Watch their body language when a cleaner enters the room. Listen to their tone when speaking to the delivery guy. Observe their eyes when a child asks for help, because in that moment, their shadow is speaking. Carl Jung famously said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." But what if I told you that everything we ignore about others also reveals our truest self? We live in a world obsessed with performing kindness, on social media, in front of bosses, lovers, influencers. But the real test is how someone acts when there's nothing to gain. No likes, no validation, no witnesses. That's why the waiter rule became famous in modern psychology. If someone treats the waiter poorly, they're not a good person. They're just good at acting. But Jung went deeper. He saw this not as just rudeness, but a crack in the soul. When someone belittles the powerless, mocks the weak, talks down to those who can't fight back, they're not revealing confidence. They're revealing an infection in the unconscious. A superiority complex is never about power. It's about pain. Behind every loud, arrogant, condescending man is a version of him that was once ignored, overlooked, abandoned, unseen. Now, to avoid ever feeling small again, he makes others feel small first. This is shadow projection, and Carl Jung warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. So if someone always needs to dominate, mock, or devalue others, it's not just bad manners, it's a trauma response. These are not just annoying habits. They're early signs of deep psychological shadows. Do they thank the cleaner or act like they're invisible? Do they smile at the boss but roll their eyes at the staff? Do they remember the names of important people only? Do they joke at someone's expense when that person can't fight back? Do they borrow money from someone poorer and never return it, just because they know that person won't confront them? These aren't minor flaws. These are leaks in the unconscious, the exact places where ego has silenced empathy. Because if someone is selectively kind, they're not kind. They're calculating. Power without humility is just insecurity. You want to be powerful? Be kind when no one's watching. You want to be respected? Respect those who can do nothing for you. Because the man who speaks gently to the janitor and gives dignity to the forgotten is the man whose shadow has been faced, understood, and integrated. And that's real strength. That's what Jung meant by individuation, becoming whole. Chapter 2. Give them power, then watch. You really want to know who someone is, don't ask them, don't test their patience, don't even wait for years. Just do this one thing. Give them power. Give them a little status, a promotion, a blue tick, some claps, a bank balance with a few extra zeros, a follower count that starts feeding their ego, even a small upper hand in a conversation. And then watch closely. That's when the transformation begins. Carl Jung said, "The persona is the mask we wear in public, but give a man freedom and the mask begins to fall." Because power doesn't poison a man, it reveals him. Before power, people try to earn love. After power, they try to command fear. Before power, they need you. After power, they forget you. You'll see it in their tone, their words, their silence, their newfound habit of scene zoning you, their sudden loss of patience with people they used to admire. They don't walk the same because now they think they're flying. The power paradox. Modern neuroscience confirms what Jung hinted at 100 years ago. Psychological studies show a shocking truth. Once someone gains power, their empathy starts to die. Not metaphorically, literally. Their mirror neurons, the parts of the brain that allow us to feel others' emotions, begin to shut down. So the powerful stop feeling, stop listening, stop caring. They don't see you as a human being anymore. They see you as a function. A waiter becomes just a service. A friend becomes just a fan. A parent becomes just another responsibility. A partner becomes just someone in the way. It's not personal, it's psychological. And unless that person has done serious inner shadow work, they will fall into this trap. Jung would call this the mask of persona breaking, and the true self finally leaking out. We meet ourselves time and time again in 1,000 disguises. But here's the twist. Power doesn't corrupt people. It reveals the corruption that was hidden behind charm and humility. It's like shaking a bottle. What spills out was always inside. Red flags, power unmasked. Want to know if someone's soul is clean? Don't watch how they suffer. Watch how they succeed. Ask, do they become louder when they're respected? Do they talk less to you the higher they rise? Do they now post quotes about haters to feed their ego? Do they interrupt others more during conversations? Do they forget who helped them climb once they reach the top? Do they start keeping people beneath them just to feel tall? Because when people no longer need you, that's when you'll finally see if they ever truly valued you. Real power is humility that survived success. The world is full of people who were nice until you handed them a little advantage. It's not that power destroyed them, power just stopped them from pretending. That's why the truly great leaders in history were those who wore humility like armor, the ones who didn't let power make them forget pain, the ones who remembered their roots even when they touched the sky. So if you want to test someone's soul, don't wait for crisis, just wait for success. And if they forget you at the top, be grateful. Because you were never supposed to follow them there anyway. Chapter 3. The mask always falls. You didn't lose a friend. You saw their mask fall. They got promoted. Suddenly they stopped replying to your texts, started mocking your ideas in meetings, talking over you, correcting you in front of others, not to help you grow but to feel taller. That's not them changing, that's them revealing. Because power isn't just a test, it's a trigger. It activates everything that was suppressed beneath the surface, and Carl Jung warned us long ago. Man is not what he thinks he is what he hides. And that should chill your spine. The person you thought was kind, that was just their performance while they still needed your validation. The one who suddenly became cold. They were always cold, they just masked it with laughter and attention. The psychological break, when control unlocks the shadow. Here's the painful truth. When someone finally reaches a position where they no longer have to impress you, they stop acting. They don't need you to like them anymore. They don't need to pretend they're kind, loyal, supportive. So what happens? Their shadow steps forward. Unfiltered, untamed, unapologetic. A lover who now controls the finances suddenly becomes emotionally distant, manipulative, withholding affection as leverage. A best friend who lands a leadership title starts using sarcasm to dominate, pushing you down to lift themselves up. And we sit there shocked saying, well, they've changed, but the reality, they haven't changed. You're just seeing what was always there, hidden, repressed, behind charm, jokes, and fake vulnerability. The mask falls when there's no reason to act. We all wear masks. Jung called this the persona, the social self we craft to survive. But personas are heavy. They take energy to maintain. So when someone finally gains enough status, money, control, or perceived superiority, they get tired of the act. And that's when it drops. No more nice texts. No more asking how your day was. No more waiting for your input. No more pretending to care, because now they believe they don't have to. That's not growth. That's ego unchained. Red flags that the mask is slipping. You'll see it in subtle ways. Their jokes start cutting deeper. Their compliments vanish. Their energy shifts from partnership to superiority. They no longer celebrate your wins, they compare them. They only reach out when they need something. They give advice not to uplift, but to correct, control, or crush. And the worst part, they'll blame you for noticing. Call you too sensitive. Say you've changed. Accuse you of being jealous. Classic gaslight defense mechanism. Because once the mask falls, they're exposed. And exposure terrifies the shadow. Final message. When the mask falls, don't pick it up for them. Stop trying to remind them who they used to be. That was never them. Stop grieving the illusion. You were in love with their mask, not their soul. Carl Jung didn't sugarcoat it. He knew the human psyche is full of layers, and most people never meet themselves. So when you finally see the shadow in someone, believe it. Don't rationalize it. Don't excuse it. Don't chase closure from someone who can't even be honest with themselves. Sometimes the most powerful healing is to simply say, "Now I see who you really are." And that's enough. Chapter 4. Turn the mirror on yourself. Here's the hardest truth Carl Jung ever handed us. Before you dissect them, before you decode her behavior, before you analyze his mask, you must first ask, who am I? When no one is watching. Because this script, this philosophy, this shadow work, it's not just a lens to spot red flags in others. It's a mirror, a brutally honest one. Ask yourself, are you kind only when it benefits your reputation? Do you switch your tone depending on who you're talking to? Are you gentle to those with influence, but sarcastic to those beneath you? Do you become harsh when there are no consequences? Because if the answer is yes, then it's not your personality talking. It's your unconscious shadow running the show. Carl Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." And that means, if you keep running from your darkness, you'll become a prisoner to it. The shadow isn't evil and it's unconscious. Most people hear shadow and think of demons, evil, darkness, corruption. But Jung didn't believe the shadow was evil. He believed it was ignored. He saw it as the part of you that was silenced as a child, rejected by society, buried to survive. Your anger, your jealousy, your need for validation, your fear of being seen as weak, your desire to dominate, your silent hatred for someone who reminds you of you. You didn't choose those feelings, they were conditioned. And when you denied them instead of healing them, they went underground. And now they control your tone, your habits, your reactions, your failures in relationships, your silence when you should have spoken, your rage when you should have listened. Because if you don't face your shadow, it drives your life. And Jung said it best, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. True strength, facing what's inside. It's easy to judge others, it's safe, it's fun. But real strength is having the courage to sit in silence and ask, why did I speak to them that way? Why did I feel jealous when they succeeded? Why do I need attention when I enter a room? Why do I lose respect for people who don't impress me? Because that's your mirror. That's your moment. That's your edge of growth. Every human has a shadow. But the ones who shine are the ones who faced it, integrated it, and became whole. This is individuation. This is self-mastery. This is what makes a man unshakable. Red flags. Not in others, but in yourself. Do you act different with people who can't help you? Do you interrupt others because it makes you feel smart? Do you scroll in silence when your friend wins, but double-like when they fail? Do you joke about people's pain to look funny in public? Do you secretly enjoy having power over someone? These are not flaws. These are leaks in your unconscious. These are parts of you that need healing, not shame. Because if you don't confront them, you'll project them onto your lover, onto your children, onto your team, and worst of all, onto your future. Final message. You are not your shadow, but you are responsible for it. Stop thinking awareness is enough. Stop saying, this is just who I am. Because the truth is, you were shaped, and what was suppressed became your shadow. And what became your shadow became your triggers. You are not evil. You are unconscious. But once you know this, you have no excuse. Because now you know that. Shadow work isn't about blaming others. It's about reclaiming your power. not by fighting darkness, but by bringing light into it. Integration is the goal, and freedom is the reward. Chapter 6. The universe tests you through people. Carl Jung didn't believe in coincidences. He believed in synchronicity, the idea that everything and everyone in your life shows up on purpose for your transformation. So when you meet a toxic person, when someone humiliates you, when someone betrays you, when someone disrespects your time, your energy, your love, stop asking, why are they like this? Start asking, why did the universe send this mirror now? Because as Jung put it, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. They are not the lesson you are, mirrors not monsters. Every disrespect you allow, every boundary you ignore, every time you stay silent when your soul is screaming, is not about them. It's about you. That friend who constantly interrupts you might be reflecting your fear of being unheard. That partner who manipulates and controls might be echoing your childhood wound, where love was conditional. That boss who belittles you might be forcing you to reclaim your voice, the one you've buried for years. These people aren't accidents. They're assignments. They're X-rays from the divine, showing you exactly where you haven't healed. You're not just observing them, you're decoding yourself. The shadow dance. Unconscious attracts unconscious. Here's the uncomfortable truth Jung made clear. You don't just attract people who match your light. You also attract those who trigger your darkness. Until your inner child feels safe, you'll keep choosing partners who abandon you. Until you learn to speak your truth, you'll keep surrounding yourself with people who silence you. So until you stop performing for love, you'll keep falling for people who make you earn it. Because your unconscious mind doesn't want comfort. It wants familiarity. And until you become aware of your pattern, you'll call it fate. You'll call it bad luck. But it's not. It's just your shadow trying to come home. Examples of spiritual mirrors in real life. The friend who only calls when they need something? A test. Will you finally say no? The partner who pulls you close, then pushes you away? A mirror. Are you addicted to emotional chaos? The co-worker who steals your credit and gets away with it? A message. Will you step into your worth or stay silent again? The narcissist in your life. A brutal reflection. Do you still equate love with pain? These are not just bad people. They are soul-level invitations to reclaim the parts of you that you abandoned. Final message. The people you meet are lessons in human form. This chapter isn't about blame. It's about awakening. The universe doesn't punish. It teaches. And people are its greatest tools. Every person who triggers you is touching a wound. Every person who disrespects you is mirroring your silence. Every person who walks away is teaching you how to stay with yourself. So next time someone enters your life and shakes everything inside you, don't just react. Don't just blame. Reflect. Because that person might just be the lesson that changes everything. Chapter 7. When their actions don't match their words. Words are easy. They're rehearsed, controlled, pretty. But actions, that's where the soul leaks. Carl Jung didn't trust people's words. He watched their patterns. He studied their inconsistencies, because that's where the shadow hides. People don't lie with their words. They lie with their masks. And the mask, it's made of language, of quotes, status updates, and well-practiced affirmations. But when the unconscious slips, that's when you see who they really are. The shadow always reveals itself in action. You'll meet people who say, "I love you," but ignore your pain when you need them most. "I'm a peaceful person," but explode the moment they're challenged. "I'm all about respect," but belittle the waiter, shame the vulnerable, and gossip behind closed doors. "I'm humble," but secretly compete, control, and boast when no one's noticing. These aren't contradictions, they're projections. The person who shouts about peace is often battling rage. The one who flaunts humility often fears inadequacy. The loudest preacher of love? Sometimes the most starved of it. Carl Jung knew, what you resist in others lives in you. So when someone points the finger too often, they're trying to bury what's already inside. Behavior is the real language of the unconscious. If someone constantly says, "I care about you," but never shows up, they don't care. They care about appearing caring. If someone says, "I'm a safe person," but uses your vulnerability against you, they're not safe. They're scared of being vulnerable themselves. If someone says, "I don't judge people," but laughs at pain and spreads gossip, that's not growth. That's ego dressed in self-help lingo. Words are cheap. Behavior is truth. Jung didn't decode people based on what they said. He decoded them based on the energy behind their habits. The words may flatter, but the patterns always tell the truth. When you do this, don't hate yourself. Heal yourself. Let's flip the mirror. If you say you're kind, but speak harshly when stressed, that's not hypocrisy. That's an unhealed trigger. If you say you believe in self-love, but stay in toxic dynamics, that's not weakness. That's your shadow begging to be seen. If you preach forgiveness, but still carry resentment, that's not failure. That's your unconscious refusing to forget what you haven't processed. Carl Jung never asked us to be perfect. He asked us to be aware, because the shadow isn't evil. It's unconscious. And until you face it, you'll keep breaking things while claiming to be doing your best. This is not self-blame. This is self-responsibility. This is shadow work. Final message. Believe behavior, not promises. The world is full of people who say the right thing, but live the opposite. So stop judging others and yourself by intentions. Judge by consistency. If someone preaches love but spreads fear, they don't need correction. They need introspection. And if you do this too, you don't need shame. You need integration. That's what shadow work is all about. Jung said, "We meet ourselves time and time again in 1,000 disguises." So the next time words sound beautiful but feel hollow, watch their walk, not their talk. Because your soul already knows the truth. You just need to stop doubting it. Chapter 8. The danger of selective kindness. Real kindness doesn't change with the room. It doesn't scan your follower count. It doesn't shift when no one's looking. True kindness is unshaken by status. It sees the CEO and the janitor the same. But most people aren't kind. They're performing. They're sweet to influencers, cold to cleaners, respectful to bosses, dismissive to waiters. This isn't compassion, this is calculation. And Carl Jung had a name for it. The persona is not who we are. It is who we think we should be. It's the social mask, the smile we wear when we need something, the tone we use to impress, the fake humility used as currency. Kindness that depends on status isn't kindness, it's strategy. Selective kindness is one of the most dangerous traits you'll encounter because it looks like goodness, but it's hollow. These people know how to act, but not how to feel. Their kindness comes with conditions. If you're useful, they're warm. If you're powerless, they ignore you. If you have status, they praise you. If you need help, they vanish. This isn't morality. It's a transactional personality. They don't love people, they love leverage. Signs of a transactional soul. They show public support, but private neglect. They flatter those in power and forget the ones who helped them rise. They ghost you when you're struggling, but celebrate you when you're trending. They're loyal to those who can offer opportunity, not those who offered loyalty. And here's the brutal truth. They're not being fake with you. They're being real with their intentions. You just didn't want to see it. Why this kindness is dangerous? Because it deceives you. It makes you believe someone is genuine, when really they're just calculating value. And if you don't recognize this pattern, you'll keep giving your soul to people who are only giving you a performance. You'll be vulnerable with someone who's collecting ammo. You'll be loyal to someone who's only loyal to status. You'll be broken by someone who was never whole to begin with. Jung's warning: don't trust the mask. Jung believed the most dangerous people aren't the openly cruel, they're the ones who perform goodness as a social mask. Because their charm isn't real, their kindness is selective, their morality is rented. And if you don't learn to read between the smiles, you'll keep trusting masks instead of souls. Final message: real kindness is unconditional. You want to know someone's character? Watch how they treat the waiter, the cleaner, the child, the stranger who can do nothing for them. That's where the mask drops. That's where the soul speaks. That's where real kindness lives. Jung didn't tell us to hate the world, he told us to see it clearly, because once you recognize the difference between performance and presence, you stop chasing validation, and you start building real connections. Chapter 9. The most dangerous people are never questioned. You've been taught to fear loud people, angry people, explosive people, but the most dangerous ones, they're often silent, calm, composed. They don't raise their voice, they lower your confidence, they don't scream to hurt you. They smile while twisting your reality. Carl Jung warned us, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. And some people become masters at building a world where no one dares hold up a mirror to them. Power without question becomes a prison. These are the manipulators who surround themselves with yes-men, who reward obedience and punish honesty, who train others to fear confrontation by using silence, guilt, or shame as weapons. They're not leaders, they're controllers. The parent who controls through guilt. After all I've done for you. That's not love. That's emotional blackmail. The boss who gaslights but calls it mentoring. You're too sensitive, you misunderstood me. That's not discipline. That's psychological warfare. The friend who always wins because they've surrounded themselves with people too afraid to say, you're being unfair. These people don't want truth, they want obedience. They're not strong, they're afraid of accountability. Here's what Jung saw. These aren't powerful people. They're people terrified of being exposed. They avoid mirrors, avoid reflection, avoid truth. Because deep inside, they know the moment someone questions them, the persona cracks. So they build walls of silence, call out your reactions, mock your emotions, so they never have to face their own. The more someone avoids being challenged, the more dangerous they become, because now their shadow runs the show, unopposed. Red flags, signs of the unquestioned controller. They surround themselves with people who agree with everything they say. They make you feel guilty for setting boundaries. They call accountability drama. They label emotional honesty as weakness. They flip the script so well you end up apologizing for their mistakes. They make silence a punishment tool. They never admit fault in, but always point it out in others. These people are not seeking growth. They're seeking control without consequence. Jung's shadow warning. The longer they avoid the mirror, the darker the shadow. Carl Jung believed that power isn't dangerous in itself. It becomes dangerous when it's never questioned. Because when someone is allowed to live inside their ego for too long, it becomes a palace of illusion. They start believing they're always right, that anyone who disagrees is toxic, that their pain is special but yours is dramatic, that they are evolved and everyone else is beneath them. They don't want healing, they want dominance, and they use spiritual language to justify it. But make no mistake, this isn't growth, it's shadow inflation. Final message, don't fear the loud, fear the unquestioned. The real threat isn't the one who yells, it's the one who never listens. It's the parent who never apologizes, the partner who never reflects, the friend who never asks if they've hurt you, the boss who calls obedience respect. These are the ones who weaponize kindness, who smile while crushing your boundaries, who dress control as care, who hide behind intellect, status, or spiritual quotes because they can't bear to face the truth. They're scared, they're lost, they're ruled by a shadow they've never dared to confront. Chapter 10. Healing begins when you face your own shadow. You can't decode others if you've never decoded yourself. You can't claim to spot manipulation, projection, or ego in others if you're still denying where it lives inside you. Before you judge how someone acts with power, pause, turn the mirror around, and ask yourself, do I crave control when I feel ignored? Do I raise my voice to feel powerful? Do I get cold when I'm afraid of being hurt? Do I manipulate love so I don't feel rejection? Because the shadow doesn't only live in them, it lives in you, it lives in all of us. And the bravest thing you can do is not call someone else out, it's to call yourself in. Jung's most brutal truth, healing isn't pretty. Carl Jung didn't romanticize healing. He didn't wrap it in affirmations, crystals, or filters. He stripped it down to its rawest core. Until you confront your own darkness, you will project it onto others. Real healing isn't journaling and lighting candles. It's admitting that maybe you were the problem. It's acknowledging that your boundaries were sometimes just walls. It's owning the fact that sometimes you pushed people away not because they were toxic, but because you were afraid of being seen. True shadow work is sitting in the messy version of yourself and not running away. Stop watching others. Start watching yourself. We're taught to study others, to analyze their red flags, to read their energy, to call out their ego. But the real power is in the moments where you observe your own, when you have the upper hand. Do you use it to control or to uplift? When someone opens up to you, do you protect their vulnerability or use it later? When you're hurt, do you communicate with honesty or manipulate to feel safe? This is the work, the uncomfortable, the invisible, the sacred. Freedom begins where the shadow ends. You're not free when people approve of you. You're free when you don't need to hide from yourself anymore. You're not healed when you let it go. You're healed when you let it transform you. And transformation doesn't begin with fixing the world. It begins with fixing your perception of yourself. Jung's ultimate truth: you are not your ego, you are not your mask, you are not your projection. You are the light behind the shadow, but you'll never find it until you walk through the darkness first. Final message: the shadow isn't your enemy, it's your map. Stop fearing your flaws, start listening to them. Stop pretending to be perfect, start being whole. Because every time you deny your jealousy, rage, fear, or shame, it doesn't disappear. It hides, it waits. And it re-emerges through your relationships, your triggers and your breakdowns. But when you face it, when you look it in the eye, when you say, "I see you, I will learn from you," that's when the chain breaks. That's when the pattern ends. That's when you become free. Chapter 11. The final truth. The shadow was never your enemy. You've spent this entire journey looking at others, unmasking manipulation, decoding projection, spotting the cracks in ego. But now, there's only one place left to look: inside. Not to shame yourself, but to reclaim yourself. Carl Jung didn't ask us to destroy the shadow. He asked us to befriend it, because it was never evil. It was just exiled. And now, it's calling you home. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. The shadow was never the threat. Ignoring it was. Your shadow isn't the villain, it's the wounded child, the part of you that wasn't held, wasn't heard, wasn't healed. It became control to feel safe. It became silence to avoid shame. It became anger to protect fear. But underneath every harsh reaction is a hurt that was never given language, and underneath every mask you wore was a soul that just wanted to be seen, without performance. This is not about destroying the shadow. It's about integrating it and becoming whole. Shadow work isn't a trend, it's a spiritual awakening. This wasn't a video series. This was your mirror. You didn't come here to watch. You came here to remember, to peel back layers of ego, to challenge the fake peace you settled for, to look your pain in the face and say, "I'm not scared of you anymore." You've walked through manipulation. You've stared into projection. You've questioned love. Now it's time to face the truth. You were never broken, just buried. And every wound you feared was actually your map back to power. Final healing message. You are the light. The shadow was the path. There's no enlightenment without shadow, no strength without struggle, no truth without trauma. Carl Jung didn't want perfect people. He wanted real ones. And real people cry. They rage. They relapse. But they return. To themselves. Again and again. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. So stop apologizing for your shadow. Start listening to it. Because once you embrace your full self, nothing can be used against you. Not even your past. This series wasn't just content. It was a mirror. Comment below. I choose truth over comfort. I choose healing over pretending. I choose to face my shadow. Share this series with someone who's silently suffering behind a smile. Let them know they're not broken, they're awakening. Subscribe, not for motivation, but for transformation. Because here, We don't sell comfort. We serve truth. And the next chapter of your evolution starts with one decision. Face yourself. Free yourself. That's the Carl Jung way. And now, it's yours too.